Welcome, dear friends. As the days shorten and the world grows quieter, we often hear the word Advent. It is a time of quiet anticipation of Christmas, a beautiful beacon of light in the heart of winter darkness. But have you ever wondered about the story of Advent? Where did this tradition begin? And what is the meaning of those 4 lit candles, each with its own special meaning? Join me on a fascinating journey through time, where we will trace the roots of Advent from the first Christians to the familiar Advent wreaths that adorn our tables today. Let's discover the rich history and deep symbolism that make this season so unique. Thank you for joining me on this discovery. If you are interested, do not hesitate to follow me, and you will learn more about the journeys behind tradition and meaning. As early as the 4th and 5th centuries, Christians wanted to experience important holidays differently than ordinary days. In Western Europe, in ancient Gaul and Hispania, the first periods of special preparation appeared: prayer, silence, and often fasting. It was not exactly before Christmas. Somewhere people prepared mainly for the feast of the Epiphany in early January. But the desire for a time when a person could calm down and turn more to God was already in the world. In the 6th century, something very similar to Advent began to take shape in Rome. About 6 weeks before Christmas, special Sundays were celebrated with their own prayers and readings. This period was gradually shortened to 4 weeks. Under Pope Gregory the Great, the form that persists to this day was established: 4 Advent Sundays, which began the new church year. In the Middle Ages, Advent was primarily a time of silence. The liturgical color is purple, the color of repentance and inner conversion. Every Sunday, churches hold special Advent liturgies with readings about hope, prophecy, John the Baptist, Mary, and the coming of Christ, and in some places, partial fasting is observed. Advent is not just waiting for gifts, but an inner journey in which one learns to listen more than to speak. Advent carries this legacy to this day, although we may perceive it more as a joyful beginning to Christmas. In Central Europe, such as the Czech Republic or Poland, Advent takes on a special form. It includes morning masses called Rorates, often by candlelight and accompanied by the singing of Rorate Masses. It is dark and chilly outside, but inside the church there is light and quiet singing. Advent thus becomes a journey from darkness to the light that is to come at Christmas. The modern Advent wreath was born in Germany in the 19th century. Evangelical pastor Johann Heinrich Wickern cared for children in an orphanage in Hamburg. They kept asking him, "When will Christmas be?" So, in 1839, he hung a large wooden circle from the ceiling with 24 small and 4 large candles. One was lit every day, and the larger one on Sunday. The children saw with their own eyes how Christmas was approaching, step by step. Wickern's circle gradually became a smaller, more homely symbol, a wreath of pine needles with 4 candles. A wreath is a circle, a sign of something that has no beginning or end. God's love and life that lasts. The green pine needles speak of hope and that life lasts even in the middle of winter. And the 4 candles show the 4 Advent Sundays, the 4 steps to Christmas. Today, Advent is celebrated by most Western Christian churches: Catholics, Evangelicals, Anglicans, Lutherans, and others. Eastern Orthodox churches do not usually call it Advent, but observe a similar period called the Birthday Fast or Christmas Fast, which often lasts 6 weeks. In many countries, Advent has become part of the pre-Christmas culture. Advent wreaths with candles, Advent calendars counting down the days until Christmas, Christmas markets, Christmas concerts, charity collections, and Christmas decorations in cities. Some experience Advent more as a spiritual journey, others more as family time. But one thing is common: the desire for light, peace, and closeness that we associate with Christmas. In the Czech Republic, Advent includes lighting candles on a wreath, Christmas gatherings, Advent concerts, but also folk customs. On the feast of St. Barbara, we put a cherry branch in a vase called barborka. On the feast of St. Nicholas, children look forward to their presents and are a little afraid of the devil who accompanies him. But the angel always rewards them with some small thing when they sing a song or tell a poem. For us, Advent is a mixture of silence, traditions, the smell of sweets, and lights that appear in the windows of houses and towns. The Advent wreath is the most visible symbol of the Christmas season in many countries. The typical wreath is circular and evergreen as a symbol of God's eternal love and life, with 4 candles, sometimes with a 5th in the middle. The 5th, white Christ's candle, is sometimes placed in the middle and lit on Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve. 1 candle is lit each Sunday of Advent. Some families add prayers or Bible readings to the lighting. Each of the 4 candles has its own special meaning. The first candle represents hope. The second candle represents peace. The third candle represents joy, often pink, according to the Latin gaudete, and the 4th candle represents love. The traditional candle colors are 3 purple and 1 pink. Some Protestant areas prefer 4 red candles as part of the standard Christmas decorations. When Advent begins, we light the first candle on the wreath, which is called the prophetic candle, or the hope candle. It recalls the Old Testament prophecy and the hope for the Messiah. In many Western churches, it marks the beginning of the church year. On the first Sunday of Advent, the Advent wreath is decorated, Advent prayers or family rituals are started, and sometimes a nativity scene, without the baby Jesus, is prepared. In many traditions, it is called the candle of hope, or also the candle of the prophets. It reminds us of the old biblical stories of people who believed that one day light and justice would come. Hope is a flame that says, even if there is darkness around, the story is not over yet. The second Advent candle is often called the candle of peace. In some traditions, it recalls Bethlehem or the prophets. It reminds us that peace does not begin somewhere far away in the world, but in our hearts and in our relationships. Advent calls us to forgive, to reconcile, to soften our words and gestures. The flame of the second candle says, peace is a gift, but also a task. With inner peace and reconciliation, we prepare for the straight path for the Lord. On the second Sunday of Advent, family gatherings, Advent prayers, sometimes charitable acts or reconciliation services take place. We call the third Sunday of Advent Gaudete Sunday, from the Latin gaudete, rejoice. That is why the third candle is often pink. The third candle is lit, traditionally pink, the candle of joy. Amid the Lenten and quiet tone of Advent, it is a reminder that God is near and that joy does not have to wait until Christmas Day. In many families, around the third Sunday, people start baking more, decorating the Christmas tree, and the Lenten rules are more relaxed. But the joy of Advent is more than just decorating. It is gratitude for what we already have. On the last, fourth Sunday of Advent, we light the fourth Advent candle, which is called the candle of love. It reminds us of the love of Mother Mary for her newborn child, Jesus. The love that comes to us in the form of a child born in Bethlehem. But also the ordinary love that we give to each other in everyday care, patience, and small joys. On this day, the final preparations for Christmas take place, the preparation of the entire nativity scene. When all 4 candles are burning, our wreath is full of light, and we are just a step away from Christmas. In some wreaths, we also find a 5th white candle, the Christ candle. It is lit on Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve and says, "The light of the world has come." Advent is over. The journey from darkness to light has reached its goal. But the story does not end. Each Advent season is a new opportunity to slow down, take a breath, and return to hope, peace, joy, and love. Whether you experience Advent in church, at home with your family, or just in the silence of your heart, its light can shine even in the midst of the most difficult days.